we usually, and this is what the society thinks about games and gamers, hey, we're sitting in the basement all day long. But there are even statistics that that gamers tend to, like, it's American statistics, so that the average gamer is making more sports or is doing more workouts per week compared to the average non-gamer.
Welcome once again, listeners, to the podcast. ActiveCast is a podcast about exercise and training for streamers, gamers, and people with sedentary jobs. In this episode, we will listen to JoeyPrink, or Dr. Johanna Pirker. Johanna is an assistant professor, software engineer, and researcher at the Institute of Interactive Systems and Data Science at Graz University of Technology. She has a long-lasting experience from game design and development and has been working in the game industry at Electronic Arts. Johanna is also a Twitch streamer and an avid outdoorsy person with a passion for moving in the mountains. In this conversation, we will talk about how to get exercise and training into one's busy calendar, what injuries and time off for exercise does with your body and mind, and we will also talk about strategies to get started with movement and how to get back into moving after a break. Johanna has a lot of great thoughts, and I truly hope that you will enjoy this conversation. Let's listen to what Johanna has to share with us. Good morning, JoeyPrink. How are you doing today?
Hello. Thank you so much for the invite. I'm a little bit tired, but I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, the same. I'm a little bit tired. It's early. It's like 8 a.m. for both of us. Yeah. So, or 8:30 now actually, but it's early morning, but that's good. An early start it's good sometimes.
But it looks nice outside. The weather seems to be really nice today.
That's good. And you're also among the mountains, which is nice.
I'm close to the mountains, and I'm actually I'm in Zurich right now, and I live next to a small hill with a lot of forest, and it's really lovely to do outdoor sports actually.
That's really nice. I'm a little bit jealous. But we have nice weather here today in Sweden too, actually. So that's good. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about exercise and movement and training and stuff from a perspective of a streamer, gamer, or someone who sits still a lot, basically. But first of all, can you introduce yourself a little bit? Can you like promote yourself? What are you doing? Are you like streaming, or are you? Yeah, I know you do a podcast, and I know you're kind of what you do for work and so on. So.
Yeah, sure. So my main job is actually I'm a computer science professor at the university. So and I focus on game development. So I'm sort of like an academic, but I'm also a game developer. And I do stream. So I try to stream also a little bit about game development, but also about gaming itself, because I think sometimes it might be interesting to see the perspectives of a game developer onto the games. And it's also a good way for me actually streaming to, how to put it, to get a different perspectives on games and the community, and to also do something entirely different and be more connected to games again. Because if you sit in front of the PC all day and you develop games, or you're managing development games or research projects, sometimes it can be nice to just be a gamer again.
Get connected to the gamer side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair. It's I'm working with city development, and sometimes you're in the maps and the plans so much, but when you get out there and bike along in the city, and it's like, oh, this is how it turns out.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So that's the same thing with the gaming. If you're a game developer, it's good to go into the gamer, put on the gamer hat sometimes. So what games do you play when you stream, or what games do you enjoy? I know you play
honestly,
Diablo now, right?
At the moment, Diablo, but honestly, everything. So I come a little bit from this indie dev community. So I also try to usually play a lot of indie games. Currently, I'm developing a point-and-click adventure game, which I'm super excited, of course, about the new Monkey Island now.
Yeah.
But this is, it's fantastic. And I'm this is a little bit my world. On stream, I like to play games which are not 80-hour games. Those are games which I enjoy playing on the console or something like this. But I also started to do this now on stream. So things like Elden Ring, for instance. but I try. I mean, again, I try to get to know everything, be a little bit open about what I play, and
Elden Ring, I haven't dared to venture into that yet.
it's so good.
I've heard
It's
that
so
everybody
good.
says that.
Please play it. And also, if you're like scared of the Dark Souls games, I think Elden Ring is really approachable and accessible. That term, and
I
it's
have
an
never.
interesting form to train your motivation for games, I guess.
Yeah, and that's good. I've never played a Souls game because they kind of scare me. I played Sekiro and it kicked my butt, so I was like, yeah, I'm not going into Souls games. But
I'm pretty sure you might like Elden Ring.
I might like it. People tell me that too, so I might try it out. All right, so going into the more exercise and movement stuff, do you do exercise? This is a very rhetoric question for you, but do you do exercise?
Yeah, yes. So I mean, I always like to call it like in general sports. I do some like standard exercises too, but for me, it's more important to have fun during sports. Also, let's put it that way. So I try to make a good mixture there. But yes.
So what do you do for when you sports or move?
That's a weird question for me because I try to do everything. I'm very open about the sport activities I do. So the things I really enjoy is, for instance, going mountain biking. This is one of the things which I really love. I do like mountaineering. So, for instance, if you really go high up the mountain, I like climbing. So usually I tend to go bouldering quite often. And then for a little bit to free my head, I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but I also like to go running quite often, or road bike, maybe this one.
Yeah.
So I think I have in my head I have different forms of sports which I do for different reasons. But this is, I think, a broad overview. And if you want to count those things. So for things like yoga or like small exercises, I think are also very important. So it's quite a mixture where I pick things depending on what I need and depending on my mood.
Yeah, but I mean, it's very, you're pretty outdoorsy when it comes to that, like climbing and mountaineering and mountain biking and so on. And I mean, yoga, it's very much an exercise. I do yoga every morning. It's super nice, and I can tell when I don't do it for like 2-3 days because my body's getting all right.
How long are your
tense.
yoga sessions in the morning?
Oh, they're just like 5 minutes max.
Okay.
Because I have a routine that I go through, and it takes like 5 minutes, and I do
Morning
that every
routines.
morning routines just to wake up. And then sometimes I do more yoga, like after a run or after a climbing session or something like that. But in the morning, it's just like 4 or 5 minutes to just.
That's what I also try to do. Like I also have this morning routine. With at the moment I try to do 15 minutes of yoga to get the body flow, or I don't know, the body a little bit moving, and wake up a little bit. And this is super helpful.
Do you always do the same
No.
routine, or is different?
No, I have an app which is called Yoga.
It's called yoga.
It used to be called Downward Dog. So like
Okay.
the name. This is my favorite app because you can actually say how long you want to have your routine. So whether you want to have 5 minutes or you have to 15 minutes, and then usually like the iterate. You could theoretically always take the same one, and I fully like. I suppose for your 5 minutes you probably always have the same. I don't know, the Sonnengruß in German. It is.
Yeah, it is
The
like sun greeting.
greetings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a variant of that.
Yeah, so I suppose this works also really well. But for instance, I do have some problems with my body, and sometimes I want to work into specific parts of my body, and this is also what you can do with the app, where I say, hey, now I want to have specific things for my thighs, I want to have specific things for my back, or something like this. So that's why I like to have it a little bit longer, like those 15 minutes, and pick specific areas.
That's interesting. So do you pick those like in the morning when you're like, now I should do it? Do you find it then, or do you plan it beforehand? So you find it the day before, or?
That's mostly in the morning. So that's a part of my morning routine, and I wish this would work really well these days, but I'm constantly changing also a little bit my morning routine depending on where I am. But I just moved here, so everything is like very different. But one part of my morning routine would be also a meditation.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, and this is something where you understand your body a lot. Let's put it that way. Because the one part of the meditation I'm using is also like a body scan, where you run from the top to your head to your feet, and you try to understand not just like, hey, why is this hurting or something like this, but you just understand, hey,
Yeah.
something is a little bit different compared to yesterday. So I think like in general, I do have a good understanding of how my body feels. And for instance, if I just had a climbing session the day before, I know I probably might want to have something for the shoulders. If I had like long running sessions, I wanted to have something for my thighs. And I have especially problems with my back, and then I might want to have something for my back. That's quite often actually.
That's quite
So-
often. Okay. We always have some stuff that are like, I have my neck and my shoulders, they're always like tensed up, and so I always need to work on those. So that's why I have a variety of this sun grating, because I have put in some extra things that I need to do every day. But meditation is really good. It's something I've been thinking about a lot, because I know a lot of people using it, and it's super good to like feel your mood and your body in a good way.
Honestly, like it's as important as normal exercises, because I mean, if you stop going, I don't know how to put it. So I try to meditate really regularly, even though it's just 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. But this is for me as important as training your body, because training the mind, this is also like a giant, a giant part of your body which is supposed to be trained.
Yeah.
And my head sometimes work a little bit weirdly, so there's so many thoughts, and sometimes for me it's really hard to focus on specific things. But if you train it constantly, for you it's becoming more easily to focus. And if you start meditating, it's like doing sports. You will hate it, you will see no benefit. The first week is super hard. And all of a sudden, like after you have some routine in that, it will become nice. And all of a sudden you see the difference. And then it's like your sports training. It's like you will miss it if you haven't done it. But if you made a long break, it's again very difficult to
Hard to
get
get
into
back
the
to it,
training
yeah.
again.
Yeah.
So it's like training your body, it's training your mind.
I mean, it's also it makes perfect sense, since the mental health and the physical health are so tightly connected, and of course it is like that. I think that if you have any ache in your body, you're like, oh my god, I need to fix this. I need to go to the physiotherapist. I need to train this, and I was like, but when you have those mental ghosts, it's like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. But meditation is one of those like exercises that you kind of need for your brain to function well.
Yeah.
So I don't do it. I have tried it, but I have such a hard time to do it. But as you say, I should probably do it for a longer time to like.
Exactly. So if you like you're coaching for running, you probably also have to, probably you can motivate yourself with the same tips, that you
Yeah,
just get into a habit, that you just like get over it in the beginning, and eventually you will start to get not the runner's high, but the feeling that hey, meditation is good for something.
Yeah,
but
for
it will
sure.
take a couple of weeks, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you use any apps or any
Yes.
tools? Of course. So what app do you use for that?
For that one, I use Headspace.
Headspace. Okay. Yeah.
So this is also very similar. So this is like my two go-to apps in the morning, because Headspace is also comes with this capability that you can choose the length. And for me, it's very important that I don't have to make too many decisions per day, which things to say. But this is something which is like, for me, it's so much easier if I just get things. And they also recommend one morning meditation every day, where you can pick the length. And I most of the time go for 15 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on how much time I have. And then it's just like a little bit of a new meditation, a little bit of thoughts added to it, but I don't have to yeah,
don't have to make the decision. They make the decision
exactly.
for you. Yeah, that's good. So I will ask you for the links later, and we will put it in the show notes so
Mm-hmm.
the listeners can check those out. Because I also think so. I don't use any apps or stuff like that in my training, like in running
Mm-hmm.
and climbing and so on, because I don't know. I've done this for so long, so I can do it myself. But for
Mm-hmm.
instance, for meditation, I
Mm-hmm.
totally need that because I'm not accustomed well enough to make my own decisions on that. And I think you put your finger on something really nice there, that you don't want to make too many decisions per day, because
Yeah,
as humans in a modern world, we make so many decisions all the time. So we're kind of
yeah,
burning out our brains in that way. So that's I think that was a really good way to put it.
yeah.
Can you talk? I love that you said that you're running and you're climbing. It's just like, yeah, that's good. That's the good stuff right there. That's the things I like too. Do you do any? Do you do any like? I don't know what to call it, but like tennis or like soccer or volleyball or like
Oh,
or
like sports with other people. Is this
yeah,
what you're asking?
yeah. Well,
Try.
yeah, basically.
Not so much, to be honest. Like, I tried tennis, and I played like some of those things when I was younger.
Mm.
So oh, I'm in a boxing club. Does this count?
Oh, of course. Jesus, boxing is such a good exercise.
It is. This is honestly like I was always sort of sporty, but since I'm in a boxing club, this is crazy training. So please don't get me wrong. It's not like we are sparing every time. It's really about the training, not about
Yeah,
the fighting or anything. So I don't go to fights or anything. But the training is crazy good. It's this high intensity training,
it's
and
exhausting.
it's, it's crazy. I've
Yeah.
never been through trainings like these. I mean, I just to. Since Corona, of course, I haven't been to the trainings a lot
Mm.
because, yeah, I rather turn to the out sports things.
Mm.
But the training that comes with boxing is so crazy good for the body
Yeah.
and for the mind.
Yeah. It's really good. I've tried
Yeah.
it a couple of times, and I'm exhausted every time. I'm pretty good trained because of the
Mm.
running and the climbing, but when I go in there, I get
Yeah, it's so
beat up.
different.
Yeah, even if I just like standing there boxing like a sack or something, it's so different, and it's really
You
good
have
to
to
mix.
keep up
Hmm.
your hands for at least like 3 minutes or 6 minutes at a time because and for your shoulders, especially when you say you
Yeah,
have issues with the shoulders and with it's so good for this part. Even but it's important that you stretch and that you
yeah.
do count
Mm.
activities afterwards. But your boxing has been one of the yeah, and it's super fun.
Yeah.
It's super fun.
And also for like you and me, we are doing climbing, and you are doing a lot of mountain biking. And in climbing and mountain biking, there's a lot of pulling, but in
Mm-hmm.
boxing it's more pushing. So it's you're using
Mm-hmm.
your body in the opposite way from us, from what we usually do, which means it's very very good for us.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing if you do a lot of boxing or martial arts where you have punches and kicks, then things like climbing and mountain biking are good because then you're used to pushing, but you need to pulling instead.
Yeah.
It's different with
And and maybe it's one thing I want to point out about boxing is again many people have a very very wrong idea about boxing or box training in their mind. There's also just training related to boxing without the actual sparring available in most of the clubs. But honestly, I think it's especially as a woman sometimes it's also very very helpful because I feel often also very safe because in case I would get attacked as a woman,
yeah,
I sort of know what to do
yeah,
and I wouldn't be scared to directly punch back or anything like that
yeah,
because you're sort of used to that or you're
hmm,
you're trained to do this.
yeah,
So I might yeah I feel like I have a like, good self confidence due to those things
yeah.
maybe
So the feeling of safety.
a little bit more feeling of safety.
Yeah, and that's nothing one should underestimate, because I know a lot of females who don't go out and bike and run and so
Mm,
on because they're afraid of getting attacked. And if you can
mm,
get the the feeling security a little bit more, and you know what to do to handle a situation if you would be in a situation like that.
Yeah.
And that's very good.
I'm not saying like I'm relatively small, I'm relatively light, so people in theory and can still be just carried away, but just like about this, you know how to react, and you're not scared to react. I will never go into this freeze mode or anything.
I mean, and that is the key point, to not go into that freeze mode, to know what to do, how to back off, and how to defend yourself a little bit, and how to move, and so on. So for sure. So how do you, what benefits do you see from, if you, this is a very rhetoric and very hard question for you to answer maybe, but maybe you can think a little bit around it. But if you would not have your training, like the mountain bike and the running and climbing and the boxing and so on, what do you think that would make you, or what do you think that would make to you?
I do have a very clear answer to that, because this happened to me because of an injury. So I injured myself last year, and I was not able to walk for a little bit more than a month.
Oh.
And so my day job, and also when I use the evenings for streaming and gaming, everything is very okay. So my day job is very heavy for my brain. So I need to focus a lot. I need to think a lot. Of course all the sitting. But I think. But I think like for me the sports is not only for my body, but especially important for my mind, for my brain. And then it was Corona. Then I was working a lot, and for me then sports and being outdoors and being active is such an important counterpart, especially for my mind and my mental health. And last year, I think it was April, May, I injured myself and I was not able to walk. So I've torn a ligament, at my foot, and I could not walk, not even like a couple of meters. And this did many things to my brain, because all of a sudden I was really, really stuck at home, and then knew that I needed this outdoor training to still be a little bit mentally healthy, let's put it that way, because I think Corona did a lot of things to all of us. And so this was very frustrating, and it took me quite a time to find other ways to actually I don't know how to put it. So I started with small things which I can do at home, and small sitting yoga exercises, for instance. But then as soon as I was able to walk a few steps again, to try to at least go to, I'm very like lucky that also at home I live very close to a tiny forest. So I was at least trying to go there, which was super weird, because usually for the whole, like if I would walk, it would take me 5 minutes, and then it was like 30 minutes just trying to go to this spot really next to me, and just be a little bit outside and sit there, enjoy it, and But I think you need to figure out ways how to which help you to I don't know, mind for your concentration, for your mental health. And for me it's sports, and if this was taken away from 1 second to the other, I was very helpless for the in the beginning.
So you could see a very big shift in your mental health, so to say, when you stopped moving.
Exactly. So I'm not even talking about my body. So I think I already made it clear that for me sports is so much more than just trying to be active. It's really important for me to think, to make my brain work, to have a good mental health. So for me it's so much more like the whole program. I don't know how to put it.
No, but that's the whole program is a very good like analogy, and the whole system of you, like the body and the mind, how, because they work very much together, and if you lose one of them, you lose the whole like system of it. It's like an
Yeah.
ecosystem. If you lose like one part of the ecosystem, the collapse of it is very imminent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is. So, but that's very clear how you, for you, that's very clear. If you have the balance, but you take away the physical one, like you did there, it's very clear for you how it affects you. But so how did you get going when you have had a break for a long time? Because for me, it can be sometimes like that. If I have an injury or if I am ill or something, and I go away from my training for a while, it can be super hard for me to get back into it. But then since I am very I'm very used to trains. Eventually I get back because I know what to do. But
Okay.
but how did you get back to it? How was your?
I mean, in that case, I was super motivated. I think I know where your question is going, but let me answer it like in two parts.
Yeah.
So in that case, I had a very good sports doctor because again, it was a different situation. I was injured.
Yeah.
So I was sort of in a training in a different way because of course, like we had to get my foot working again. So for me, it was like learning how to walk again, learning how to jump again.
Yeah.
And so I was super excited. Like I maybe have. Yeah, I tried to find alternatives. Worked out with the doctor again. So, for instance, if I cannot walk and I could not mountain bike because mountain biking is a lot of you have to be flexible with the foot.
Yeah.
But I started different sports, namely road bike, and this
All right,
was
yeah.
in the looking back. I'm very happy that I got injured because I never thought road biking would be fun. And then I started to with road biking, and I think like 2 weeks after they removed this casket thingy, I did not have a casket but something else. I do not know the English term. But 2 weeks afterwards, I was already going with my road bike to Italy.
Oh wow. That's
So
all right. Okay,
so for me it was not hard because I was so much looking forward to it. But I think I know where your question is coming from, because sometimes if you make a break, like I said with the meditation earlier, if you make a break,
Yeah.
and I feel exactly the same. If I did not go running for a month or something like this, it's really hard to get into this mood again. And for me, this is a little bit about creating habits and putting things into my calendar.
Okay.
Because one of the things, so I try to, for instance, every Monday or Sunday evening, I sit down with my calendar and I work a little bit out my schedule for the week. And I think what many people sort of forget to also put personal things in there.
Yeah.
And that's what I did too for many years, and which was rather burning me out, that I sort of like always forgot to. Yeah, I had meetings which you put into your calendar. You have deadlines which you put into your calendar, but I never put personal things.
Yeah. So not the
into
meetings for
calendar.
yourself.
The meetings for myself, exactly. And so now I sit there and really try to schedule, hey, where do I put my morning yoga session? Where do I put my runs? When do I want to go climbing? And so I put myself into this mood that I have those sort of like appointments.
Yeah.
Which are this is why is like 1 hour of doing something for yourself which you might enjoy, or which is good for your mind and your body, why is this not in your calendar if like 10 meetings are in there? So this should
That's
be
a
as
really
important.
good question. So do you plan it for like a week then? Do you sit down on
I try to plan it for a week.
All right.
I know many other people do have habits, like for instance, going every Tuesday and Thursday, they might go running or something like this. I rather plan it like depending on my weeks, because I have a very dynamic schedule, let's put it that way. So every week is a little bit different. I'm traveling a lot. So I need to, I try to have habits, and that's, I think, what I would recommend everyone else, that you just build regular habits.
Yeah.
So for instance, if you want to get into the mood of running again, that you just say, hey, every morning when I get up, I put on my running shoes and then I go running for 5 minutes. The next day, 10 minutes. The next day, 50 minutes. And this is sort of get you going again. Just start something, even though it's super small. 5 minutes and running is still better than nothing.
Yeah.
And
basically, because this is something I say this a lot to everyone, and I think everyone that I have had on this podcast says that you need to build a habit.
yeah,
But your way to do it is to plan it week by week, which is that is, I mean,
I
that's,
schedule it.
yeah, you schedule it, and I mean that's very good to do that if it works for you, and it's a good way to try out if you're not, because a lot of people say that every Thursday I go run or whatever it is, and for some people that doesn't work because they don't do it, and maybe they need scheduling instead. So because it can also be a point in doing it different days during the week if you schedule it, because then you're more like, it's more various, and maybe that suits you better. So that's a really good tip there.
I think every one of us has a different life, and some of us have a family, have children. Some of us have like a demanding job, some which requires you to travel a lot, for instance. Some of us have, like, everyone has had a different. So it's not easy to just take, hey, every time half an hour in the morning, because I think especially if you have kids, this might be super challenging to. And then you need to have it a little bit flexible,
Yeah.
and find still things that work for you. And for me, the calendar thing works. For others, the habits. Habits are great, and I use habits a lot for many things, but most of the time not for the sport things.
Yeah. How do you schedule it? Do you have like a paper journal, or do you have a
I have a
digital?
bullet journal. I have a paper bullet journal where
Yeah.
I try to like arrange everything.
Like a A4, like.
No, it's A5.
Yeah.
This traditional bullet journal thingy.
Yeah.
And this is, yeah,
I also have
helps me.
a paper bullet journal.
Yeah.
I am very, very bad at planning and like scheduling stuff, because even if I do to-do lists and stuff, I can make wonderful to-do lists, but I never look at them, so it doesn't work for me. But I do journaling.
This is a thing where you need the habit, right?
Yeah.
This is
Maybe. But I've tried
getting up and
first.
looking at your.
I've tried for like 25 years. It doesn't work. But I do have a bullet journal where I like schedule up what I need to do during a week for my work, and also for in my private life. And I need to tick those boxes off, and I really force myself to do that. So, and what I do more is that I reflect back on the week that have been. It's like, how did I do? How did I do it in the right way? Did I stress myself in somewhere? Did I miss something? Or like, what was the good things about this week, and so on. So I try to learn by reflecting back a lot, and that helps
That's
me a lot.
nice. Yeah.
But it's also it's very much how we are as a person, so to say.
That's the thing. Like, there are many tools out there which help you to. Like, I was very, very interested in tools about productivity or avoid procrastination and so on and so forth. But I mean, in the end, the truth is every one of us is different, and we have different phases in our lives. So you cannot just like pick one tool and this will be your tool which will work for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So this is what I constantly try to rethink a little bit. Hey, and it's not about like over trying to reach all my goals, or overreaching, or try to super optimizing myself. That's not it. It's really about like finding a good balance for myself.
It's just a baseline.
It's just a baseline, a healthy, nice balance. Where both is like all the. I don't know. There are many things in my life which have an important part, such as, of course, work is a big part of it, but of course also the social aspects. I music and my band are important to me, and sport is super important to me. And if I want to fit all of this in there, I had to find ways how to put it, or how to make this work. And for me, scheduling works a lot. Building habits works a lot. But then if you have kids and you have this very scattered and you have to be super flexible, you might find other ways. There are also, I'm always very inspired also when I read about daily schedules of writers, for instance.
Oh wow,
a professional.
They can be super thorough with that. Writers are often very good at scheduling their writing.
Exactly. And then there are journalists. so who are actually like writing or have to work create like creative writing sometimes, but be super fast about it and super flexible.
Yeah.
And what I find very interesting here, I mean, they make it work very spontaneously. So
Yeah.
whenever they sit somewhere, they might write something.
Yeah.
And this is the same way I think about also like maybe tiny exercises, but because there are also a ton of exercises which I don't like to do
Yeah.
because I just hate them.
Like.
Yeah, I mean, again, for instance, when I had the injury with the foot, or again exercises for my back,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is just like really really annoying. And those are the things which I just try to smuggle through small habits into in my routines.
Yeah.
So this could be, for instance, like for my foot, I had to do a lot of balancing things again and trying to get on my toes. And I tried to do this when I was like brushing my teeth.
Yeah.
So that I just like combine things,
Yeah.
and then every time I brush my teeth now, I'm still doing exercises for my
Yeah,
foot,
that
which
is
is not
super
important
good.
anymore.
That is a really good tip. I usually, when I brush my teeth, when I brush the teeth and the downside, I stand on one foot, and when I brush my
Oh
teeth and the
yeah,
upper part, I stand on the other foot, and sometimes I lift the
yeah.
heel a little bit. It's perfect because I'm just standing there brushing my teeth. So I just
And then you already had like 3 minutes of tiny exercise combined
exactly.
with it.
It's
Perfect.
perfect. All right, that's good. So do you? I just like do you know if there is any like in game development since you're kind of into that thing? Do you see any like do game developers take exercising and sports and training into the games somehow? Like how to influence or inspire gamers to move more?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I was, I mean, I'm very interested in this combination of like sports and games because how to put it, games have an impact on sports. This is something which I'm very fascinated about in general. So let me take your question and go crazy with it.
Yeah, do it. Be my guest.
No, but what I find super inspiring, for instance, because we usually, and this is what the society thinks about games and gamers, hey, we're sitting in the basement all day long. But there are even statistics that that gamers tend to like it's American statistics, so that the average gamer is making more sports or more is doing more workouts per week compared to the average non-gamer.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
So this is I hope I got this that's right. I can send you the link afterwards.
Please do.
It's from the Entertainment Software Association. They run statistics about the game. Sorry, my voice might get a little bit
Yeah, it's
lost now.
9 now. You told me about
It's
it.
nine,
9.
exactly. I warned you that at
Yeah.
9 I might slowly work. Okay, but that the average American makes less sports compared to gaming people, and I find this very inspiring. And what many people are not aware of that games. And again, there are the society things where we gamers, we sit in the basement, eat pizza all day, and just become fat. But I think the reality is very different. And what I find super inspiring that the games industry is actually sometimes even inspiring the sports industry.
Yeah.
So the best example is how was it called? Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Yeah.
There was not a lot of skating in the world before this game. It was a relatively tiny scene. And because of the game, everyone knew about all the insights, about the music, the brands, everything connected to this sort of sports. So many started skating because of this game. So it had such a big impact on the whole sports industry.
That's interesting.
And that's what I find super exciting and interesting. And I wish there would be, of course, more games doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not, yeah. And
that's interesting. And you also see more of those games coming, like Steep, the snowboard, and a ski game. And I mean, you have those like this is a very old game. It's Wii Sport. There is a new one now for Swift Sport or what it's called. It. So I also see that, and it's also because I'm kind of interested in that like connection between gaming and sports and how to utilize games to get more sports and exercises in.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. I could invite you for a whole interview just about that.
No, this is a very exciting topic. I wrote a book chapter about that. That's why I'm happy to send you that too.
Please do.
This is a very exciting topic because I think we can learn so much more from bringing those two worlds together.
Yeah, for sure.
And this was one of the things which I sort of like was rather happy about during the first lockdown, because all of a sudden I was invited. We have a specific sports news channel in Austria on TV, and I was invited as a guest there because they couldn't do any. I'm so sorry, my voice is gone.
Okay.
I told you, I want you.
Yeah.
So at. So where was I? And I was super excited to be finally invited also to sports TV in Austria because of esports.
That's super cool.
And for the first time, like the whole society was watching esports and were on a sports channel in Austria because they couldn't host any standard sport shows because there was nothing.
Yeah.
And it was such an exciting time because at the same time, like the pro cyclists, for instance, were competing against pro esports players in through cycling simulators or in Formula One or things like this. And this is what I found super exciting, to finally bring those two worlds together.
I think that merch is amazing. I have seen it. I've been in the gaming, like I've been gaming my whole life, like since the first like games came out, because I'm kind of old. but I've seen that shift very, very clearly when esports came into the sport world and how that affected people, like the gamers. We are not people who sit in the basement eating pizza, chips, and drinking cola anymore. We are
being full of pimples.
Exactly. We are way past that, and it's gone into the sports room, so to say. And I think that's kind of cool. But all right. But I will. I could talk to you about this. Hopefully we can talk about this more later on, but I will spare your voice a little bit now. But I have two questions that I ask everybody that I interview to end with. And the first thing is, what is your favorite exercise? And the next one, which is your favorite game?
Exercise, is this like really one exercise which I like to do?
Well,
or
whatever, you can say, like mountain
or
biking
sports or
mountain
biking.
You take the word and use it as you want.
Honestly, I'm looking forward so much to the skiing season again. So I like to go. It's called touring skiing in Austria, where you actually walk up the hill.
When you skin with a skimo, like you skin up and then go down.
Exactly. And this is really nice. So because you have both. I love the mountains and I love being outside. And this is maybe something which I should also add. For instance, my weekends are always reserved for sports and for mountain things, because mountains are for me the one thing where I know that my cell phone might not work and I can fully concentrate. And for instance, also climbing has something so specific, because climbing, or if you do things in the mountain, you have to be fully concentrated.
You have to be there.
You have to be there. You have to be there, right?
Yeah.
And this is something which I find so exciting, because if you make a mistake, that's it, right? And you have to be there, and there's no room in your brain for any other things, whether it's work related or anything which bothers you all day. You have to be there. And I think maybe this is my favorite exercise. Maybe we can put it that way, that I like to find ways how to fully concentrate on those things again.
That's a good
This
one.
is what I enjoy.
Yeah, just to explain to people who don't know that, but what ski touring is, that you put like a skin on your skis, so you walk up a mountain with the skis on, and then you take away that skin from the skis, and then you ski down like a downhill. So that's
Exactly.
basically what it is.
And the nice thing is you're pretty much all by yourself, because
Yeah.
if you go skiing in one of those skiing resorts, it's you and the other 10,000 people
Yeah.
trying to get up there and down there. But here you and the mountain,
Yeah.
it's just the two of you. Of course, you have to, just as a warning, you have to be careful because of avalanches.
Yeah, of course.
You have to have a proper training. So for many of the sport things I just mentioned, also if you go mountaineering, I have a proper training for that. I have a proper alone for going ski touring. I have a backpack with the avalanche set. I have a avalanche.
Yeah, the beeper.
Rescue set, a beeper, and things like this. So just as a warning, just don't do it.
Yeah,
you get a training first.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like to be in the mountains and do climbing and stuff, because you have to be there. You cannot think about other stuff. But it's also like you need to have the training, but you also need to have the experience. Because it is potentially very dangerous. But it's not dangerous if you know what you do, but it can still be dangerous. So you need to really know what to do.
Exactly.
All right. A favorite game?
Favorite game? Yes. That's what the second question was. The favorite game. I mean, honestly, it's I do like all those point and click adventures a lot, because for me it's nice to know that I'm finished within like 7 hours or something like this. I'm like watching a movie that you have a specific goal. But honestly, since I played Elden Ring gave me a very different experience, which is like also training and practicing for this game and learning how to not be angry when you fail, and that you just need to practice again and get a little bit stronger.
Patience.
And that's patience, And this is, I think, a very, very interesting game mechanic, actually, and a good message to put out there. And that's why these days, I would go for Elden Ring.
All right. But you're kind of excited for Monkey Island now, then, if you like point.
I already played the last 2 evenings. I'm super excited.
That's awesome. I love that. All right. So, like ski touring and Elden Ring, then, would be your answer.
Yes, let's put it that way.
All right. That's awesome. So, do you have any last advice or thoughts or something like that before we end for our listeners?
I would just like be super happy if more people think or like can be or take this step forward and think of ways how to integrate small little exercises or sports into their lives. I always find it a pity that many people think that this cannot be combined, whether it's combining it with a stressful work or thinking, hey, I'm not like a sporty person, why should I do that? There are small things which can be integrated, and I do think whatever you do, it will be beneficial. And whether it's like doing 20 minutes a week something, or 8 hours a week something, it's just like getting it started, doing small things. And I think at some point people start feeling the difference anyway, and it should be something which is fun. So for me, sports is something I'm looking forward to, and not something which I am really, I have to go to this mountain again. And this is something which I wish more people find for themselves. And it's maybe just finding the right form of activity.
So find the something that is fun and make a habit out of it.
Exactly.
Basically. That's awesome. All right. I will let you go now. I know you're heading into the office for more PC time. Thank you so much for taking the time and being on here. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you so much. Such a cool podcast.
Yeah, thank you. And I hope we talk soon again.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of ActiveCast. If you want to know more about the topics we talked about, don't be shy to post a comment on our YouTube channel. You can also send your questions directly to ActiveCast through Twitter or mail to activecastpod@gmail.com. You find links and addresses in the show notes and in the description of the episode on YouTube. I would appreciate it a lot if you rate and review the podcast, especially on Apple Podcasts. It will help the podcast to be able to reach a newer and wider audience. You can also subscribe and interact on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you again in 2 weeks.